What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Absolutely April, here for another reality recap. We are doing Ready to Love. This is the finale, and thank God the finale is here. This season has made me tired. I am tired. I just can't take any more of this cast. I'm just annoyed at this point. But let's go ahead and get into the reality recap of it all. But before I do that, I do want to welcome back all of my subscribers. If you have looked at more than one of my videos, I appreciate you and I thank you. And I hope you are a subscriber. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment, because I like to interact with you, and hit that notification button so you'll be notified about all of my uploads. Also, if you are new to my channel, I'm sorry, if you are new to my channel, I do reality recaps. I do recaps on movies, TV shows. I might throw some spirituality in there. You never know what you're gonna get from me. So go ahead and subscribe to this community because this is where it's at. We're gonna be growing by leaps and bounds. I promise you that. So you might as well go ahead and get in at the ground floor. So let's go ahead and get into the reality recap. I got some thoughts, and I know you do too. So let's go ahead. So the cast gets together for, I guess they're like in a brunch, and Kayla's there, Randall's there, they're getting their little food, and they're just making like little small talk, and Randall is supposed to be Kayla's one of her connections, but they don't act like it at this point. But who's to say what's really going on with them? So Jamala walks in, and of course she's going to speak to her rah-rah, and she's going to make her presence known to Kayla. So that's what she did. She walked in, she speaks. So Kayla goes over to a secluded table, expecting Randall to walk over there and kind of talk with her and converse with her, and just to kind of get their connection going. But no, not Randall. Randall goes sits with the guys. He don't want no smoke with Jamala. He's just gonna go and sit with the guys. So Mike is already sitting over there, and it's Swayze over there. I know Sharice is over there too. So he just goes and sits down over there. So Jamala goes over and gives, as she making her plate, she goes over and gives Randall a little kiss. And so, she just, I swear, Jamala, she'd be doing like little subtle things to make her, try to make Kayla know that it ain't about you, girl. It's about me and Randall. So then Brandy walks in and she gives Mike her kiss, and they exchange pleasantries, and it's all good. So Kayla says she notices that the men are at their table, the women are at their table. She notices that the men are not sitting with their strongest connections. So she don't know. She feels like they don't know what they want, and you're probably right, Kayla. They don't know what they want, but I think they know that they don't want you because nobody sat at the table with you. And the ladies are also kind of ostracizing her because they sat at a whole different table. So Katie and then Swayze walk in. I won't call them Ike and Tina, but they is the bickering couple. You remember Angela and on Why Did I Get Married? Angela and Marcus. That's who they are. Angela and Marcus, also known as Katie and Swayze, walk in. Swayze's already there. I'm sorry. Katie walks in and she is on one. And so she is clearly noticing that has the attitude. And so when she walks in, everybody speaks except Swayze. So she basically said, "You act like you can't say nothing. You act like we ain't talked 10 minutes ago." So they just really like on, and he's like, "I don't want no woman that's insecure and that's argumentative." And so like, what the heck is going on with them? So the ladies end up like, let's, separate. So they end up going to sit with Kayla. I don't know if the producers told them to, go sit with Kayla, but they end up picking up their plates and going to sit with Kayla. So Randall, tells Swayze, like, I think, just talk to her. She likes you. That she wouldn't act like that about you if she didn't like you. So Swayze just like, I don't want no insecure woman and no, no woman that's argumentative. So that's that's exactly how he's acting. So he's over here just going off, and we don't even know what the heck then happened. So Katie is basically saying, I did my assignment from Tommy. I did my assignment and I asked, for a plan, and he got all in his feelings about it and all, got all crazy about it. So now this has caused the big argument between Swayze and Katie. So, the ladies are trying to come, tell Katie, breathe, girl, just breathe. I am breathing. Both of them, Katie and Swayze, they are so much alike to the point where I feel like they will work. They are so much alike, but they are going to have like this firework of a relationship where it's always like they're gonna be that couple. If you on a couples trip, they're gonna be that couple that's probably gonna be arguing, coming in the house arguing, and then next thing you know, you hear the the bed frame squeaking and the headboard bumping against the wall because they gonna, as much as they hard as they fight, that's as hard as they gonna love each other. I can already see it. So Tommy walks in and tells and asks Sharice, where's Samson? Tommy, you know where Samson is. Samson is gone. So Sharice, says she gave Samson the opportunity to show something different, and he didn't. So she told Samson he was not ready to love, and he was not ready to love at all. He was ready to get his 5 minutes of fame. He was ready to market himself as the good guy, which he is not. That's what Samson was ready for. So Sharice feels like, she knows what she wants, and she's not going to settle for someone like Samson. So excuse me. So Tommy asks Sharice if there's anything she wants to say to the group. So Sharice gets up, addresses the group, and basically tells them the process is over for. Duh, because your connection is gone. No one else is here for you. So yeah, your process is over. But she tells them, she leaves them with a parting note. Never leave, never settle for anybody, always choose yourself, yada, 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 yada. Great speech, Sharice. But yeah, it's time for Sharice to go. So as Sharice is walking off, Katie was like, I got something to say. So I'm thinking, Katie is about to say something to Sharice like, girl, we ain't been seeing eye to eye, but, you still my girl. I thought she was going to do something like that. But she said, Katie gets up and says, I want, walks to the front. She said, I want Swayze to come up here with me. So Katie and Swayze is like, oh, Lord. So he walks up. And he walks up to the front with Katie. So Katie says, she can't deal with him getting in defense mode every time he wants to talk to her. She can't stand, always when she tries to get vulnerable, he just gets defensive. And Swayze is saying, I can't stand a woman that's argumentative and insecure. And then so he was like, I have to basically reassure Katie all the time. And I'm tired of reassuring her. She ain't my woman. We just friends at this point. And I don't want to have to keep reassuring her all the time. So Tommy was like, well, sounds like y'all need to, learn how to communicate. And even though that's not your woman, you're trying to get there. So this is the time where you got to learn how to communicate with Katie. Swayze says, I don't feel like doing all of that. I don't want to do all of that. That's too much work. And he does not need an insecure woman who he has to constantly reassure. And so, he feels like they're just friends. They are not his wife. So he just does not want to hear what Tommy is trying to say right now. So Tommy asks, like, well, can you all fix it? So he says he's not willing to fix it. and they could just be friends, but he just ain't willing to do all that work right now. So Swayze was not here for it. Clearly, whatever Kadian had planned, it backfired because what she says in her confessional, like I was looking for some reassurance from him. And I was looking for him to be like, let's just work this out. Let's just talk this out. Let's not, let's just not go there. Let's try to, work it, work some stuff out between us. No, Swayze did not do that. So that's why you shouldn't expect things to happen like that. You cannot control people, Kadian. You cannot control people and get the outcome you are looking for. If you were wanting something like that, you could have brought Swayze to the side. Instead of putting him on Front Street, he was already mad at you. I mean, y'all should have been able to talk it through when y'all were in a calmer state. Neither one of y'all were in a calmer state at that particular point. Swayze was on one, you were on one. It just was not, it was a recipe for disaster. And that's exactly what it is because both of them ended up in the process right then and there. And so they had to bid their farewell. Swayze dapped some of the, fellas up, Kadian, walks off and stuff like that. And so, Tommy bids them goodbye. The rest of the cast is sitting there with their mouth open like, did that just happen? So now we are down to 5 people. Brandy and Randall. No, shoot. Brandy and Mike, Randall and Jamala, and then we still got the third wheel, Kayla. So we just, and I guess Kayla was like, I'm not throwing in the towel. I don't know if the producers have told them that they can't just give up. I don't know what the heck that happened, but Kayla is in it to win it. Clearly, she thinks that one of these guys could possibly change their minds. So they're going to go ahead and go through with the process. So, Tommy, says to give themselves a round of applause, and tells them, that the strongest connection will survive at this point. So Tommy gets them to introduce their strongest connection. He's telling the guys to introduce your strongest connection to your family members, and decide who you're going to leave with at the end of the day. So Kayla figures, since there are only 5 left, someone will leave this situation disappointed. And all signs are pointing at you being disappointed, Kayla. But I admire your strength and perseverance because you are persevering through the odds on this. So Mike has his brother Greg to meet his connections. So, when Mike walks in, he greets his brother and all that kind of stuff. And Mike tells his brother that, about Brandy, she's a good girl. She's down to earth. And, so they have a little moment. It was like, oh, she's a clean girl. And I was like, I guess. So, moving on to, they also flash over to Randall. Randall and his has his brother Marcus. They're both extremely tall. So, I mean, to me, they don't look alike, but they are very, they're both really, really tall and nice looking guys. So Marcus meets Kayla, and basically Randall tells Marcus, go in on Kayla, like, press her a little bit. And so I'm just like, why would you do that? Like, why would you, in my mind, I was like, why would you tell them to press Kayla like that? Because I'm just like, why would you turn up the heat on her? And, is it because, her parents turned up the heat on you? I mean, it's just like, why? I felt it was unnecessary to do because I don't see where Kayla has been, like that with him. She's been, to me, more than patient with Randall and figuring out his connection, but she has always put the ball in his court to figure it out and not, her making the decision for him. And I don't blame Kayla on that. So Marcus meets Kayla. Kayla arrives looking nice. And Kayla tells Marcus, Kayla arrives and Randall says, they have been making an effort since the getaway to, see each other and all that kind of stuff. So Kayla tells Marcus, I didn't expect to be, emotionally involved because there haven't been, there has been times when she wasn't happy. And Marcus wants to know, well, what did Randall do? And Kayla revealed that Randall and Jamala, had a little connection, and it was closer than what he disclosed to her, and she ended up finding out about that. So, Marcus asked if someone took her spot. Is that the case? And Kayla says it was her spot to begin with, and then someone crept in and they moved to a different spot with each other. So Marcus was like, well, oh, you must have got comfortable. And she was like, not really comfortable, but, comfortable, to the point where another connection of hers applied pressure and kind of moved Randall out of his spot with her. So that's what it was. And so the brother's like, oh, see, you ain't say that at first. So now we flash over to Brandy. Brandy arrives to meet Mike's brother, Greg. And then Greg asked, Brandy, what drew her to Mike? And she was like, well, look at him. He looks good. Brandy is so bubbly and she's so, down to earth and relatable. So she says that. So Greg asked about her previous relationships. Dun, dun, dun. Brandy has never been in any previous relationships. We've been talking about this since the beginning of the process. So Brandy has never been in any previous relationships. She's basically been in situationships for, most of her adult life. So now we flip back over to Marcus. Marcus, as says, let's see, Randall, says, well, Marcus was like, Randall is a man, you got another connection and Randall is a man. So you allowed another man to come creep in Randall's spot. And so, of course his brother is going to take up for his brother. So Kayla was like, well, we talked about the whole situation with me and Mike, and you said you were fine with it. And Randall said, what I was cool with it, and Kayla was like, well, you weren't telling the truth if you were not actually cool with the situation between her and Mike. And Kayla was like, well, this is a process where we all get to know each other. And I couldn't get stuck in my first attraction or my first connection because I had to, experience everybody. And Randall, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? Because didn't you not have 3 connections? Come on now. I mean, y'all can't require something of Kayla that you're not willing to do. Like, that's just not fair. So they flash back over to Greg and Brandy. So Greg asked Brandy, if there was personal issues as to why she wasn't in relationships. And, Brandy said it ain't had nothing to do with her. And she was like, it was all the other person. It wasn't me. So he was like, you must be Miss Perfect. No, I'm not perfect, but it ain't had nothing to do with me. It wasn't on my end. So he was like, well, tell me some of your flaws. What can you work on? Brandy was like, And she's like, you can hear the Jeopardy music as she's sitting there thinking, she's like, doo, 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 doo. And she's like, I got nothing. I got nothing. So, Brandy was like, he was like, oh, and she's like, how'd that make you feel? You feel like I'm a liar? And that's so Brandy was like, I don't see where I was wrong in it. I didn't have a hand in any of my situationships. It was never my fault. So moving on back to Marcus and Kayla, Marcus asked Kayla, who Kayla really wants. Do you want Mike? Do you want Randall? Kayla says she wanted Randall, and the reason why is because she loves his humanity. She loves his mentality. She loves that he's caring. She loved all of that about Randall. And Marcus, asked her, "Can you see yourself being with Randall?" So, Kayla was like, it's really hard to answer, that question because she knows his intentions are pure, but she doesn't know what he's going to do about his intentions. So Randall says that has nothing to do with what he's asking you about how you feel about me. So Kayla, she's annoyed at this point. So Kayla says, you can like and love a man, and it doesn't mean nothing if he doesn't like and love you. And so Randall says, you still haven't answered the question about how you feel. And, she was like, well, you didn't answer the question when I pressed you and asked you, if you were going to, what you wanted to do with me, and you would answer the question. He was like, well, you can answer this question the same way that I did. Or he's like, but if you're going to answer the question, let it be a real answer. I was like, Randall, really, you came here to really apply pressure to Kayla, and you really was gonna make her say she liked you. And I'm like, but what if she did say she liked you? What would you have done then? What if she said that she felt like she was falling in love with you? What would you have said then, Randall? Come on now. Or where you were trying to hem her up to say, so you can go back and tell Mike, well, she said she really, really liked me. She in love with me. So what was you gonna do? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So whatever. So Randall says, if she doesn't want to answer, but he's looking for a real answer from her. And Kayla says, I just don't know. She just does not know. So moving on back over to Greg and Brandy. Greg and Brand ask Brandy what her expectations are after this process. So Brandy, gets really sentimental. She's like, I want to be together. I want to be a wife. I want to have children, be a family. That's what I see after this process. After this process, she said, I want companionship. And it feels like, what she has been praying for resides in Mike. She said, I'm almost ready to call him king. And she was like, well, just Mike over there would say, well, just say it. And she was like, Mike, Brandy says, well, I feel like I could call you king. That's what she says. She did not call him king, but she says, I feel like it, that I could call you my king. So moving back over to Kayla and Marcus. Kayla thanks Marcus for coming and leads them to talk. So, and Kayla feels like Randall needs to grow before they can have a relationship together. So he walks with Kayla out to his car and, talks, and kind of bids her farewell. So moving back over to Greg, Greg tells Mike that he likes Brandy. But he does have red flags at the fact that she's never been in a relationship before, and she's never been and she can't acknowledge, her flaws, where she can improve upon. So he basically said, if you pursue a relationship with her, you're gonna, walk in blind, because she doesn't have any frame of reference from another relationship. So enter at your own risk. So moving back over to Marcus and Randall, Marcus is telling Randall that Kayla is cool, but he doesn't like that, the uncertainty, that she has about him. So, your brother's the same way. He's in the same boat. He's uncertain. So Randall says that he got to see Kayla's emotions, and people don't get upset unless they really like him. So he says he still has a lot of thinking to do. So now we have a little switcheroo. Mike brings his brother Greg to meet Kayla this time. So Kayla is going to meet Greg, and of course, Jamala is going to meet Randall's brother Marcus. So Mike and his brother are meeting at the restaurant. And Mike says, I am a little bit more nervous. So they go to a little classier restaurant, and he orders a Pinot Grigio because he knows that's what Kayla likes. And I'm assuming that he likes it too, because, now he's starting to order a Pinot Grigio for himself. So he orders 3 Pinot Grigios, waiting for Kayla to come and arrive. And so, it says a lot that he knows her drink and he knows what she likes. So that's a big thing. So his brother says, "Oh, well, Kayla must like the finer things in life, and that she likes a lot of the finer things that maybe Mike wasn't always accustomed to." And Mike did allude to the fact that he feels uncomfortable, with Kate. He didn't say uncomfortable, but this is what I'm getting from him. He feels kind of uncomfortable because Kayla comes from a life of wealth, and he may come from a different side of the tracks, and he doesn't know how they could coexist together. So I think you're putting 20 on 10. Like, if you like her, you like her, no matter what side of the track she comes from. I feel like that's an inadequacy or insecurity within you that has nothing to do with Kayla. So Randall and his brother are, meeting at another restaurant to meet with Jamala, and he says he didn't like what went down at the getaway with Jamala, and he's just trying to get to really how he wants, how he feels about Jamala. And he just doesn't like some of the things he's seen so far. So Kayla walks in. We're going back to Greg. Kayla walks in. She meets with Greg and Mike. She tells him that he asks Kayla a little bit about herself. She tells him she's from Georgia. She grew up as a Jack and Jill kid, which I could totally tell she did because of the way Kayla carries herself. You could tell she has grown up where she has been in environments where she was very trained to be very poised. She is very eloquent in how she speaks. I can tell that she was the debutante type. So she, and then after meeting her parents, it further solidified that she was the debutante type. So Kayla says that she also went to Howard University. Shout out to the HBCUs. My HBCU is having their homecoming this weekend. So yeah. So Kayla is on paper the elite, Black people, with the elite Black person when she went to a prestigious college in the Black community. She was in Jack and Jill, which is, the elite of the Blacks. She was a debutante. She is in that world. But, and I feel like that makes Mike very insecure. So Jamala arrives to go meet Randall, his brother. So, Marcus gets right in. He asks her, does she trust Randall? And, or, is she insecure, about being insecure and stuff. So she was like, well, if I'm emotionally connected to a man and some other person touches his hand or something, my spidey senses is gonna go up, and I'm gonna notice that someone has touched him, and that's just not an insecurity. That's a fact, and we're dealing with the fact. And sis, Jamala, that is an insecurity. If someone just touches your man, you should trust your man enough that he's going to diffuse the situation. Or if it gets to that point, he has to go to work. He's a freaking personal trainer. So he's going to probably touch another woman. So you can't be, going off every time Randall wants to do if someone of another sex touches Randall, because that's unrealistic. So, Randall's brother is like, oh, okay. So back to Greg and Kayla. Greg says, if she could see something long term, asked if she could see something long term with Mike, and she said she could. She says she's into having a big family. She wants a family. She wants to do a family crest and put it in the foyer, and she wants to establish, generational wealth and lineage, a sense of, pride in the generation. So that's why she wants to do a crest and everything. I think that's cute. And so they kind of tease her about, oh, foyer. And so she was like, my mom is in real estate, and that's how you pronounce foyer. So she's, they tease her about being bougie, and, she's like, So, it's just like, That's just who Kayla is, and that's the kind, that's the life that she came in. So that's just, who Kayla is at her core. But she doesn't seem like she's a stuck up. She's stuck up because she is taking Mike for who he is. Mike did not graduate from college, so she's not even judging him for that. And a lot of people in that world would, if you're not a doctor or a lawyer, have some type of prestigious career, then you are not good enough for them. And it doesn't seem like Kayla has that mentality. So he asked, Greg asked Kayla, what kind of value are you going to add to Mike? She says, I see, great things in Mike. I see, I feel like sometimes he limits himself, and I see that, I can help him, see things through a different lens and want more for himself. And she's like, and just introduce him to some of the, different finer things in life. So, she was like, maybe next time we go out, we can have a Bordeaux. And so they're like, ooh, a Bordeaux. So, it's just like, I think Kayla and Mike would have could possibly be a good match with each other. But I just think that Kayla's life and her background intimidates Mike. That's what I really feel. So moving back over to Marcus and Jamala, he asked if he could see herself with Randall in the long term. Jamala says she does and wants she sees herself with Randall for the long term. Of course, I mean, everybody knows that. And so Marcus reassures Jamala that Randall is a good guy. You don't have to worry about him. And Randall ends up walking Jamala to her car. They kiss as she leaves, which is different the way he and Kayla left. I don't think him and Kayla kissed. Kayla got in her car and left. They shared a kiss before she left. So Randall says he is still confused because since the getaway, he and Kayla have grown and have been having deep conversations together. So moving back over to Greg and Kayla, Greg tells Kayla that she's all right with him. She is all right with him, and they burst out laughing. And Greg says, Mike, is a solid dude. He's telling Kayla, Mike is a solid dude, and she is good. And if she's good to Mike, she's all right with him. So Mike says, I'm cool with you. And Kayla, so Kayla ends up leaving. Kayla ends up leaving. Mike asks, Greg how he feels about Kayla. He said he likes Kayla and appreciates, what she has to offer him and how she sees Mike. And he was like, it's up to you. He was like, they're both good girls. He said, I can't really tell you, which way to go on that. So Mike says, he's torn. He's torn, which is what Mike has been saying for the longest. So Randall takes Kayla out on a date. So Kayla, asked about, what your brother had to say about me. And he was like, he ain't like you. Basically, like, he ain't like you. And she was like, oh. And, he says, Kayla, asked Randall, well, how you feel about it? And he says, he thought it went great. And she was like, I thought it went great too. I mean, I don't know why he ain't like me. So Kayla asked, how did he like the other connection, meaning Jamala, and he says, yeah, he really liked her. He really enjoyed their interaction, and it was a total opposite of how he felt about Kayla. So Kayla says, okay, now I'm getting stressed and I can't eat. So meanwhile, she's cutting up meat for Randall. And I mean, as she's cutting, she is like, you can tell all the stress in her body is going into this meat because she is like, that is how she is cutting up the meat. And so when she finishes cutting up the meat, she moves the plate over to Randall and hands him his napkin to put in his lap. she asked, what do you want to do, Randall? What do you want to do at this point? So he was like, you're at a crossroads at this point. What do you want? So she's pressing him like, what do you want? And then he blurts out, I'm not picking you. And it was like, first of all, why why that type of reaction to me putting, telling you to choose? I'm not picking you. Like, um, clearly you have been feeling that way for a while. So why did you string Kayla along this long? It's just like, why did you do that? If you were feeling Jamala and you just, you knew you didn't want to be in that space like that with Kayla, why did you string Kayla along this long? And so Kayla was like, okay, all right. Um, Randall is, like saying, this was hard, because he had feelings for Kayla, and it was just hard to say. And Kayla says, she has to live with his decision, and but feels, this could be a blessing in disguise. And had she known this sooner, she probably could have, put more of her intentions into Mike. But it's all good at this point. So she says, I wish you and Jamala the best. Well, she didn't even acknowledge Jamala. She just said his other connection the best. So Randall says he's been connected to Jamala, and he couldn't, he just could not choose Kayla because of his strong connection with Jamala, which I'm just like, why did you wait this long, Randall? And it just makes me think that Randall is the type of guy that cannot make decisions. If we are going out to eat, he'll probably be like, whatever you want to eat. Or, if I'm trying to get you to make a decision, you just can't make a decision. And I need somebody who can make a decision. I feel like Randall might be a Libra or something like that. But he just cannot make a decision. I really feel like he really, really liked Kayla, but I almost feel like Jamala put the full court press on him. I really do feel like really, really pressed on him. Because I don't see the spark with him and Jamala either. I really don't. And like I said before, I feel like he and Jamala have had relations with each other. So that's really what's clouding the judgment. That's made Jamala more intense in her possession of him, and that has clouded his judgment of her. That's what I really feel like may have gone down, and that's where they are. I really don't see it for Jamala and Randall either. So, Randall says, we are getting to the point where, they have made their choices. So Randall walks like across, on a bridge, and Jamala comes, and she looks good. Like, Jamala's body is snatched. She had a nice little, like a turquoise looking dress on. It was really, really pretty. And it really, hugged all her curves. She looked really, really pretty. You know, if Randall wasn't going to choose it, he was going to choose her that day, seeing her in that dress. So Randall acknowledges, the other connection, and said that it was never the same, as it was with her. And he tells Jamala that he's choosing her. So we flash over to Mike. Mike is arriving on a beach, towards the beach. He has a nice little suit on, no shoes, because he's walking on the beach, has a nice little chic black box. And, we're trying to see who's going to arrive for Mike. Will it be Kayla? Will it be Brandy? So when, the scene cuts and shows this dress blowing in the wind, and that's all I think she's wearing a turquoise dress as well, and it's blowing in the wind. As soon as I see them arms, I knew, girl, that ain't Kayla. That is not Kayla. It is Brandy. So Kayla did not get chose. She did not get chose. I don't know how Kayla reacted because they didn't show it, but Kayla clearly did not get chose. And I was like, dang, Kayla, I feel bad for you. But I really wish that when all them other couples walked out, when Katie and Swayze left the process, and when Sharice left, you should have went on and said, put your church finger up and said, okay, me. I'm gonna exit stage left because y'all ain't about to embarrass me out here. So, Mike tells Brand, he says to Brandy, he makes him feel more open. He was drawn to her smile, her sense of humor. He just likes that she's down to earth, and he just likes how he feels when he's around Brandy. So flashback over to Jamala. Jamala is talking to Randall. She tells Randall he brings out feelings she doesn't like. So she doesn't like the feelings that Randall brings up into being vulnerable and stuff, and feeling all these butterflies and everything. And she chooses him. Girl, we knew that you was gonna choose Randall. If he would have chose Kayla, I think you would have been in the bushes with a steak knife. Like, you would have killed Randall had he not chose you. And Randall know that. So it's just like, girl, you ain't fooling nobody. You was gonna choose Randall. And we didn't even have to have all of this whole episode going back and forth between Kayla and them and Mike and Kayla and Brandy. We didn't have to do all of this. We already knew what was about to happen. So moving over to Brandy. Brandy says it was difficult watching him with his other connections, but at the end of the day, she chooses him. And Mike had in the box, it was those one of those eternal roses, and when she opens the drawer, it says it's a yes. So it was really cute. They have they kiss, and he picks her up and all that other stuff. So yeah, that's the end of that, and we move on to the reunion next week. So the reunion seems to be kind of explosive. Charisse and Katie, go at it. Jamala and Randall, like, they sitting like an arm's length from each other, so they don't look like they tight as as they say they been. Zoe is still looking like he in his feelings. Katie goes after Shakira. It's just a whole bunch. We're gonna see. It seems like it's gonna be, a pretty good reunion. We're gonna see what happens with that. But yeah, what would y'all rate this episode? I'll give it a good 6. A 6, child. I'm Will Packer people. I need y'all to, I need y'all to make some changes, because this whole formula that y'all got is drying up real quick. It's getting real boring. And this particular cast, I mean, the ladies were nice looking, but it's just like, nah, the fellas was just, they were lackluster, in my opinion. I mean, it wasn't much for them to choose from. So, I think that maybe, I don't know, Mike and Brandy might still be together. I think I could see them, more than I could see Randall and Jamala, honestly. And so that's it. And comment down below. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me how y'all feel about this whole season. Just are you here for me? Like, it just seemed a little lackluster to me, but that's it. I don't want to belabor the points. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And until then, see you when I see you. Peace.